Hello, I'm Robert and welcome back. As I mentioned in my welcome video, we're going to be writing an AI chatbot for Discord. So to do that, first we need to have an AI. And as this series progresses, we're going to be going through many different products. Some that require hosting, some that are serverless. And we're going to start this whole discussion with the company that started it all, OpenAI. OpenAI is a serverless product. That means you don't need to host the learning module or the language module on your own systems. It's very easy to get up and running, and for most people, it's an extremely affordable approach. Running a language model can be very expensive and very intensive on your hardware. So this is a nice way of being able to get a real-world practical up and running system with very little cost. Now, if you don't have an account, you can sign up for an account. And that of course means going through and creating your account or using one of the choices to log in. I have an account, so I'm going to log into my account and go from there. And then we'll go through and get all of the information we need. Once you go through the sign-up process or login process, you are brought to this screen. A simple screen which is where the magic happens if you want to use the web interface. But we don't. We want to get an API. We want to get a special code that lets us connect to our program. So we click on the icon, and then we click on Settings. And now we have a whole slew of options. Go through all of these options and look at them because they're important. The next step is getting the API, which isn't always obvious the way they tend to change the website around, which really makes it nice when you can just ask the bot or the software to tell you how to get what you need. And that's exactly what I've done on the screen. I've asked it where to go to find the API, and it's given me a link to click on where we could actually do just that and actually get to our dashboard. Now, if you're given free credits, great, use them. They're wonderful. If you're not given free credits, take a few minutes and put $5 on the system. It really is worth it. Now, you will need to go through and verify your phone number and all the other rhetoric to get an API. That's fine. Walk through the process. It's not a big deal. But once you go through everything, simply click on the Create New Secrets key. And then, if you're not verified, it will go through the verification process. Take the time to do this. Okay, I've just verified my phone number, and because I have an existing account, I don't get additional credits, which is fine. But if you've never used this system before, they will give you some free credits that you can actually play with. This is a wonderful way to explore the system with no risks. And now we go in and we actually get to the point of getting our secret key. This is incredibly important that you do not ever give this information away. Keep this information private. Keep it careful in terms of your protectiveness. So we are going to fill in the title. You don't need to get overly fancy or anything like that. You could either choose a service account or yourself, and for the purposes of this example, we're just going to go with ourselves. Once we have the information filled out, click on Create Secret Key. Now this is your key. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to destroy this when I'm done. But copy it. Put it someplace safe like a notepad or somewhere where you can get access to it, because this is the only time you're actually going to be able to see it. So take your time to copy it, double check it, and then when you're done and you've got your copy, click on the Done button and you have your key registered. This is critical that you have this before we start writing the program. You're going to need to have this key for the program to work right. So now let's get to the actual part of the program, the VPS. Now that we are in our VPS, we can begin to look at the code and actually experiment with this chatbot. As for the kind of system you need, really 2 cores with 4 gigs of RAM and 80 gigabytes of SSD is more than enough for what we're using, particularly where we're not hosting the language model ourselves. Now, if we were actually hosting the language model ourselves, then your requirements would be a lot steeper. But for now, we're just using the serverless model from OpenAI, and we're going to actually see the entire bot. As we continue working with the process, this bot is extremely simple. Let's begin talking about the actual code. Let me get my magic drawing here. The OpenAI module or library. You can load this into your system with a simple pip install command. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy, and it really is a nice way of going about managing this entire process, which we will demonstrate this a little bit later on. The API key that you just created goes right here. I emphasize, do not ever give this away. Ever. Communicating with OpenAI isn't very difficult. In fact, it's actually very easy. So as we can see with this function right here. Whoops, can't draw straight. Let's try that again and see if I can draw better. This function is everything we need that actually goes out, talks to the service, and brings back the AI information. This is what actually gives our chat bot chat capabilities. Now we have the typical Python try except just in case something goes wrong. And sometimes things can go wrong, so it just prints an error to the screen. As we develop the program, though, this is going to change, and it's going to become much more robust in terms of the situations it can handle. Now, this isn't very much of a elaborate system. All it really does is take the user input as the variable of the function and passes it directly into the OpenAI functionality. There's no memory here, and there's no way to hold a conversation, meaning it can't develop from one input to the next. Where, for example, if I ask it, "How are you doing?" and then it responds, and then I ask it another question based upon that response, it won't have that linkage or memory between the different functions. So that is really one of the many things that we develop in the future. But for now, this will give you a wonderful resource, including how to learn Python or anything else you might want to do. As of this video, GPT-4o Mini is the best game in town for the best price. And I'm going to show you my billing later on as well, and we're going to talk about that. This does an exceptional job now. When it first came out, it was a bit sketchy, but now it really does work well. So now that we have the function that talks to the AI service, let's go look at the process of actually communicating. And that would be our main function. This is what actually lets us communicate over and over again. And all we are doing is asking the question, cleaning it up so that the user can type in something off the keyboard. If the user doesn't put anything in there and it's just a blank line, then we just go back and ask the question again. If the user types quit, exit, or buy, then the program simply goes away. Goes back to the prompt and we're done. And now we just a little bit of screen cleanup and we actually talk to the AI. That's it. This is a full, complete chatbot. It really is very simple. So let's go back up to our chat function. OpenAI expects things to be in a very explicit type of situation. And this will become more apparent as we actually develop the AI's persona or synthetic personality. As we continue building on this project, we're actually going to build a representation that could be a living being. It's interesting and fascinating because in a way, we are going to be creating a storybook character, literally out of a novel or a movie or whatever we want. So the way the AI functionality works for OpenAI and really for any other of the serverless tools we are going to be using in the future, the intent is based upon a role. Role can either be user, which is you, the person typing, system, and this is a special one that defines the personality of the bot, or assistant, which is the response that comes back from the bot. So with these three factors, system, user, and assistant, we can begin to create a entity that could very well almost be living. I say almost because it's still a machine, but realistically, you can really go out of your way to develop a very enriching and wonderfully crafted character. And we are going to go through that whole process in detail in a future video. So for now, we have the basis of our system. We have the model that we are going to be using. OpenAI has a few, but this is the one we're going to stick to because it's most cost efficient. When we start getting into other services, we're going to start demonstrating some of those other models available. And some of them are quite interesting and nice. Some are specialized. No one single model is perfect for every task. So you'll need to go through and look at what you're trying to achieve and pick the model that best fits what you're doing. And truthfully, a lot of that is just trial and error. So right here in the code, the completion line, this is what sends our user input to OpenAI's servers. And then it will return a response. We can get that response, and then that is the answer to our question. So let's see how this really looks and actually go through and test it. Okay, now it's time to run the program. And it's going to ask us a question. Let's try something simple. And let's see how it responds. Nice and simple, what you would expect out of a machine. Now let's ask it a question. Again, it's going to go out, give the question to the service, and then the service is going to respond. Now, as we can see with this particular approach that we're using, there are some problems. Those problems are that the screen may not be big enough to hold the answer. That's fine, because as we develop this program, this isn't going to be an issue, as we're going to be able to continue to develop in a way that lets us see the entire answer and get very robust responses. And actually, let's see exactly what I turned this simple little program into. Okay, we are now in my actual Discord server. This is the AI bot I built from that program I just demonstrated. Now that program and this bot itself is available in a GitHub repository. I encourage you to download it, look at it, put it on a server, try it out, see how it works. And the link to this Discord server will also be in the description. Check out the bot, see how well it does, so forth. I'm going to ask the bot the same two questions I asked in the example program. So let's start with the first one. How are you? Now again, it's going to go out and communicate with the OpenAPI server. And this time, we have a unique response. Instead of the bot simply saying that it is an OpenAI derivative, it is giving us a rich dialogue. This is the personality or persona that I created for this bot. The character that I spent 6 months crafting. just like out of a novel or a movie. You could build a character representation that gives an authentic and genuine representation of a person. And that information then can be developed so that when you are working within your Discord server or chatting to this entity, it gives a level of authentication and authenticity that makes it feel and sound genuine. This goes back to what I mentioned in the welcome video. We can't escape technology coming into our lives. Just as the computers have taken over phone conversations when you talk to your bank or any other process. It's worth knowing that if we can have a way of making these machines sound human or sound human enough that they're worth interacting with, then it makes the experience a lot better for everybody. And that's the point of what I am trying to accomplish with Companion, with this program. To show that while the machine can do something efficiently, in this case moderation, it can do so in a way that it contributes nicely to how the interactions go between humans and machines. So whether it's your bank or some other kind of service that you are using, having a machine give off some level of personalization can make the whole experience much better. So now let's ask the second question. And let's see how this answers. The advantages to using an AI chatbot in such a way are: one, it's entertaining. For a server that has a good, well-built chatbot, this is incredibly entertaining. It adds to the environment, particularly if the chatbot is built in such a way that is unique, original, and authentic. If you're running a game server and you want to have a chatbot based upon one of the game characters, this is an exceptional addition to that server. In my case, this falls in line with the research I'm doing, but it also falls in line with my main trading server. Now, as I mentioned on the VPS, if the output is too big for the screen to scroll where you can't read it all, here in Discord you don't have that problem. You can just pan back and see the whole response. And again, you'll notice the difference in the way the content is presented. It's more fluidic. It's more natural. But that is because of the way the personality or persona is built. The more effort you put into crafting your AI persona, the more enriching it will be when you interact with it. All of the links for the companion software and the example that I just demonstrated in the VPS will be in the description. An invite link for this server will also be in the description. Please join it. Let me know what you think of this particular bot and how well things do. Because this is my most advanced, but it's not my only one. I have another one with its own personality. And let's see how its responses are. Now, all of this is done by one single program. So you have multiple personalities, that is multiple personas or multiple characters from one single program. It's not difficult, and we are actually going to go through and show all of the differences. Now, for the same question, we have another unique and interesting way of looking at the process. So, two different AIs using the same OpenAI model, but the personas are different, and yet the responses to the same question are equally as different and unique as they are to the personas. And now for the third persona. This one's a bit of a difficult one, because I'm trying to take an embodiment of a historical character and bring it into the modern text, the modern context of today's society. So let's ask it the same question and see how well it does. This one is still in development, but it still has its own unique persona. And as you can see, this one is a bit different altogether. You see, the idea behind this one isn't to get caught up in everyday life, but to stay focused in a purely educational, historical context. Again, the persona maps out how the responses will be given. So as we progress through the series and we develop our own characters, our own perceptions of what we want for our AI bot, there is really no limits in terms of what you can develop. It just depends on how much work you put into it and how much depth you want to give your character. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please share this video if you think you know somebody that would be interested in this kind of content. If you're not subscribed and you want to see future videos like this, where I go deep and heavy into building this system, please subscribe. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. Leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this kind of AI and how it's going to impact our future. How dealing with telephone communications with machines could possibly become better or worse. Thank you for watching.